Okay, we're going to start working with compound interest tables. So there is a process that you need to go through when you deal with compound interest tables. They do have some formulas they've given us. And what compound interest is, interest where you stop every so often, however often it's compounded. You calculate the interest and you add that to your balance so that going forward you're earning more and more money because your balance is getting bigger and bigger. Where that's different than simple interest, where you just go through the entire time, and when you get to the end of your time, then you calculate your interest. So you're only earning interest on your original amount. Compound interest, you earn more because your balance is slowly going up and up and up. The bigger your balance, the more interest you earn each time. That can be kind of exhausting to calculate compound interest because you have to stop each time it's compounded, calculate the interest, and add it in. That's why they have these compound interest tables. And what a compound interest table tells you is if you take your interest rate and the number of periods that you have it in the account, you can just multiply your balance by the number in the table, and it will tell you what your new balance is straight off. It makes it faster. You do need to get used to using compound interest tables, however, because there is a process that you go through. So let's take an example. It says that Home City Bank pays 5% interest and it's compounded quarterly and it's earned on a regular savings account. Miguel Cardoza deposited $2,000 for 1 year. He made no other deposits or withdrawals. How much interest did he earn by the end of that year? Okay, so if we're going to use the table, here's the first thing that we need to do. We need to find out what interest rate to use. So what you do is you take your interest rate and divide it by the number of times it's compounded in a year. This is compounded quarterly, so that's 4 times a year. So we take our 5% and divide it by 4. And that gives us 1.25%. Okay, so since we're compounding every quarter, that's kind of dropping our interest rate, dividing it into 4 parts. So what that does for us, this tells us where to look on the table. Right here. Well, did you notice we had a question about 5%, but 5% was not on the table? We are using 1.25% because each quarter is 1.25% for a total of 5 at the end of the year. That makes sense. The next thing you need to do is find out how many interest periods your money was in that account. So the periods, again, it's compounded quarterly. So if we go 1 full year, how many quarters are that? How many quarters are in 1? Well, there are 4. Okay, so we're going a full year, we're going 4 quarters. So we are going to be looking right here. We're doing 4 periods at an interest rate of 1.25%. So we look down from 1.25% and over from 4, and here is our number from the table, 1.05094. Now, this is the formula we're using. This gives us the amount in the account at the end of the year. Okay, so to find the total amount that this person has in their account at the end of the year, we take our number from the table times the original amount they invested. He invested $2,000. The number we got from the table was 1.05094. We go ahead and multiply those. Now the cool thing about this is that it gives you the total amount in the account. So it's your original plus your interest, which is, you remember, simple interest, we had to calculate the simple interest and then add it in. Okay, so the amount in the account at the end of the year would be $2,101.88. Let's look at what they were asking. How much interest did he earn? So to find out what the interest is, we come back up here. We take the amount that's in the account now minus the original, because whatever the change was, that's the amount of interest that was earned over the year. And it looks like it's $101.88. Okay. So these are multi-step problems. It's important to take notes and have these steps down somewhere so that as you go through another problem, you have them. The first thing you do is take the interest rate, divide it by the number of times it's compounded a year. Quarterly means 4 times, just like 4 quarters in a dollar. So we divided the interest rate by 4, got 1.25%. That's what we look for first on the table is our percent, so we know which column to be in. Then you next look for how many periods are we going. We went for 1 year, okay? And so if it's compounded quarterly, then we've compounded it 4 times in 1 year. If we went 2 years, that would be 8 times, 4 times for each year. But in this case, it was just a year, so that was 4 times. Looked on the table to find the number in the table. We multiplied that number by the amount that was invested, and that gave us the new amount that this person had, their original plus interest. We just wanted the interest, so we then subtracted the original amount we had in the account, and we got our interest of $101.88. All right, let's take a look at another of these. Okay, to prepare for their child's education, John and Cindy started an account with a deposit of $5,000 into a savings account. The money earns 5%, compounded quarterly. Considering that no other deposits or withdrawals are made, how much does the account worth in 2 years? Okay, so this is how much is it worth total after 2 years. We start the same way. You take your interest rate and divide it by the number of times it's compounded. Again, it's compounded quarterly, which is 4 times a year. 4 quarters in a game, 4 quarters in a dollar. There are 4 times we're compounding. Again, that gives us the interest rate of 1.25%. So we know that over here on the table, this is the column we'll be looking in for our number. Next, we want to figure out how many periods we're going through. We need to figure out where to be here. So we look and we see how long was it in. It was in for 2 years, and it was compounded quarterly. So that's 4 times a year times 2 years. That would be 8 periods. It would be compounded 8 times in 2 years. So we are looking down here at 8 times. We look where those two intersect, and we get this number here. 1.10448. Okay, now we multiply that by the amount they invested times our 5,000 that we invested, and that will give us the total amount that they have in the account, which is what they asked for. So last time we subtracted, and the reason we subtracted was because they asked for the interest, but this time they're asking for the total amount, which is what our formula automatically gives us when we use a table. So the amount in the account at the end of 2 years will be $5,522.40.